and thank God we have a real leader fighting for the free world.
Tonight I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated.
Oh, yes. So we all know what happened by now. American B-2 bombers targeted 3 Iranian nuclear sites in a mission that emphasised how the US, under President Trump, doesn't suffer terrorists lightly. This isn't about being pro-Israel necessarily or Zionism. It's about being anti-terrorism. It's about the surge, specifically, of the Islamic Iranian regime on the Western world. Terrorist sleeper cells, the funding of proxies such as the Houthis and Hezbollah, and Iranian spies plotting attacks in Britain and at British military bases abroad. If anyone needs reminding why Iran and Islamists are the bad guys, specifically when it comes to Britain, here's what I said last night. Let's recap, shall we? We've got a former Iranian government minister living in London who supports terrorists and issues fatwas, a former Hamas terror chief living in London, London Takeaways advertising kebabs using footage of Iranian missiles on Israel, British soldiers spying for Iran, Iranian terror plots against British military bases foiled, Iranians nicked for an alleged plot to attack the Israeli embassy in London, Palestine protesters destroying aircraft at RAF bases. Oh, and breaking tonight, GB News can reveal more than 1,000 small boat migrants have crossed the English Channel illegally in less than 48 hours. And I've seen the comparisons today, of course. Talk of Iraq 2003, weapons of mass destruction, potential ground invasions too. I do get it, but let me just say the Trump administration has been clear from the very start that these strikes aren't about regime change or a protracted war in the Middle East. It's about ensuring peace through strength.
The president may not want an open-ended conflict. The Iranians may disagree. Are you prepared for a protracted war?
Well, anything can happen in conflict, we acknowledge that, but the scope of this was intentionally limited. That's the message that we're sending.
What's clear today is the US doesn't need anyone else to ensure its safety because they run the show. With President Trump, they get things done. No relying on the cucked EU allies or the international order before doing what's right for them. No consulting the UN or NATO. No dithering with rule books and lefty lawyers. Just putting your nation first. Could you imagine our own Prime Minister making a decision of this magnitude? In fact, the US now cares so little about the UK and Europe that the PM, I think, has been made to look a little bit silly tonight. Indeed, after saying the US wouldn't get involved with Iran.
On Tuesday morning, you said how important de-escalation was. This was at the G7. You told me you didn't think a US attack was imminent. You sat next to President Trump at the G7 dinner of leaders. You said nothing the president said suggests he's about to get involved in this conflict. On the contrary, here we are. He has struck Iran. He's done exactly the opposite of what you said you thought he was going to do. Do you feel foolish, frustrated that he's not listening?
Well, it's clearly a fast-moving situation, and there's been a huge amount of discussions in the days since the G7 ended, and the US has now taken the action to alleviate the threat.
I don't know why he looks so terrified in that clip. Well, anyway, let's cross to Washington, D.C. and speak to Jacob Olidor, who's a Middle East historian and former advisor to Mike Pence, the former US Vice President. Thank you for your company, Jacob. What's the feeling like stateside at the moment? Do Americans and indeed Republicans back what President Trump has done?
Thanks for having me, Ben. Oh, absolutely. There's no question. The polling here in the United States is overwhelmingly supportive of the president eliminating Iran's nuclear program. The president has tried this graciously through diplomatic means. Seeing that that was not meeting the objective, he turned to other options. But I think, your comments at the top are a good reminder of the fact that Iran has been a European problem and a British problem for very long. It is a fast-moving target, as the Prime Minister has said. One needs to look no further than the Russia's invasion of Ukraine, where Iran has been shipping missiles and drones made with German parts over to Russia, that this is really close to home.
Yeah, Jacob, I've had so many comments today online, on X and so on, saying, what's Iran ever done to you? You know, why are you getting involved, or why is America getting involved in the Middle East? And I played a reminder of what I said last night. I mean, the amount of terrorist sleeper cells in the UK. We had 5 Iranians arrested just some weeks ago for a plot to reportedly blow up the Israeli embassy. Then you've got the Houthis targeting British and American ships down the Strait of Hormuz and the Gulf of Aden, and so on and so on. It goes on. Hezbollah as well. The Iranians, do you agree with President Trump and Pete Hegseth, the Defence Secretary? Do you agree these are isolated strikes? And do you believe the Trump admin when they say that they don't want a protracted war in the Middle East?
Oh, absolutely. And of course, I don't speak on behalf of the administration. I'm on the outside, but the president and his team are completely united and been consistent that these are a targeted strike on Iran's nuclear capabilities. That is consistent with the president's own vision that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And so that is the focus here. And throughout, the president has also left the door open for Iran to continue through diplomatic channels to ensure its objective of stopping its nuclear program. And we're seeing that play out.
And Jacob, what are the Democrats saying in the US?
Oh, well, I've stopped listening long ago, but I mean, it's, look, it's actually interesting. I mean, you have a couple of folks, of course, the same chorus saying that this is escalatory war again. And then you have others, of course, trying to give Biden credit that all of this was started under him, which of course is nonsense.
Okay, and finally, are you proud of your country today?
Oh, absolutely. I've always been proud, especially under President Trump's leadership, and this is a continuation of what we know of President Trump and his team, of strength, of peace through strength, of unwavering support, and action on behalf of the American people and of world peace. And this is President Trump as a peacemaker.
Okay, and you wouldn't be concerned, just last question, if this escalated? I mean, Iran are saying they're going to be shutting off the Strait of Hormuz, potentially affecting up to 20% of gas around the world, oil prices and so on, energy bills will go up. You'd be prepared, would you, as an American, to go into a full-scale war with Iran, if that's what it meant?
Well, look, this is the conclusion of the longest forever war in the Middle East in modern times by Iran, launched in 1979. If Iran tries something like that, that will be an affront not only to the United States, but to all of our partners around the world. As Secretary Rubio said in that clip earlier, I mean, Iran would be wise to think twice before doing such a step.
Yeah, all right, Jacob. I have to say, as a Brit, I was very, very impressed with the operation overnight. Whether you agree with the bombing of Iran or not, just the military aspect to it, you know, the decoys across the Atlantic and the Pacific, 120, I think, aeroplanes, fighter jets involved, including the B-2s. So, yeah, well done to President Trump tonight, I think, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, I know there'll be some who disagree with me. Jacob, thank you for your company. Really appreciate it. Former advisor to Mike Pence.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cyber criminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C-18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private Internet Access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GB News discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GB News to start protecting yourself digitally today.
Let's get the thoughts of my panel now. We'll have lots more, actually, on America's attack on Iran throughout the show, but let's get the thoughts of my panel, Will Kingston, Chloe Dobbs and Bill Remmel. Welcome along, panel. Chloe, ladies first, your thoughts on this situation. Do you back President Trump? Is there any concern there about where this could lead to?
Absolutely, I back President Trump. This was 100% the right thing to do. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. A lot of people say, oh, because of mutually assured destruction, if they had one, they wouldn't use it. But let's be clear, this is a fundamentalist regime that glorifies martyrdom. They are happy to die for the cause. If they destroy Israel and wipe it off the map with a nuclear weapon, when they see the response coming back the other way to destroy them, they'll think, great, I'm going to have a great life in heaven and I'll be closer to Allah. So you cannot let them have a nuclear weapon. This had to be done. And yes, there are worries about what's going to happen with global trade and whatnot, but it had to be done. This is preventing World War III and nuclear war, not causing it.
Yeah. Will, where does this leave the United Kingdom? Because it seems the UK and Keir Starmer knew nothing about this, or at least wasn't updated. Keir Starmer a few days ago was saying that he doesn't think Donald Trump would carry it out, and the next minute we have 8 or 9 B-2 bombers flying around the world on 30-hour missions.
I just saw before I came on air an update from Keir Starmer on the situation in the Middle East, and if there's one thing that the last 24 hours have demonstrated, it is that Keir Starmer is entirely irrelevant in the Middle East.
I think the EU as well, not just the UK.
And the EU. And look, that's not necessarily a good or a bad thing. It is just an expression of the reality of the moment, where the UK for the last 70 years has been a fading power along with Europe, and the US is obviously not. Look, the one thing I would say on this was a moment, this is the defining moment of the Trump presidency. It was a moment of moral clarity as well as political courage. Political courage because it would have been easier for him not to do this. And moral clarity because the world owes the US a great service tonight. Diplomacy hasn't worked, not just the last 3 months, but for the last 20 years. This was the only option we had, and it's been carried out very, very well. I think this is a wonderful moment for the world.
Bill, what's your take? Specifically with Keir Starmer as well. Beth Rigby accused him of looking a little bit foolish. Is that fair?
No, I don't think it is. He's been trying to persuade Trump to go down the diplomatic route, and that hasn't worked. Look, I need no convincing that Iran are bad guys. You know, it's an extreme, theocratic Islamist state that terrorises the Middle East and terrorises the rest of the world. But I'm really concerned about what Donald Trump has done, and I just can't join this loving about Trump. He's been utterly erratic in his decision-making. You know, first of all, Israel had gone beyond what the United States wanted to do. We then had the will I, won't I charade, and now he's bombing. And this is the president who said, I'm the anti-war president. And the problem is, once you start a war, and that was big within your presentation at the beginning, Ben, once you start a war, you're not in control of events. And he's not in control now. And I am not convinced that you can eradicate nuclear capability in Iran by bombing. Iran can rebuild.
Well, they say they've completely obliterated their nuclear capability.
Well, and his chief of staff actually then contradicted what the defence secretary had said and said severe damage, not complete obliteration. And there were photos online yesterday of 36 lorries at the Fordow plant, clearly taking the enriched uranium elsewhere. And the problem with that is, if it hasn't worked, and this is a massive risk that Trump has taken, then the regime is reinforced and their extremism.
But is it not, though, a sign of strength? Even if the nuclear capabilities are still slightly intact and there's a chance that it can be revived, is it not a complete show of force? I was saying to Jacob just then, I was watching in awe of the military capabilities of the United States overnight. I mean, if I was Iran and I saw 8 or 9 B-2 bombers flying around the world on 30-hour missions, 100-odd fighter jets protecting them, refuelling in the air, dropping 2-ton bombs, 3 2-ton bombs on 3 nuclear sites. I mean, I'd be bricking it if I was Iran.
Yeah, but you're not dealing with rational actors. You know, this is an extremist...
That's exactly right, Bill.
You're not, and that's the problem.
So do you think you can conduct diplomacy with non-rational actors?
Yeah, because you can force them through the strength of negotiation. Under the Obama nuclear deal, we had contained Iran, and it wasn't pursuing nuclear weapons. It now is. And the problem is, what is Iran now going to do? So it's going to shut off the Straits of Hormuz.
Yeah.
Oil has already gone up by 28%. It's going to skyrocket through the roof. And I tell you what, the Straits of Hormuz, we're not the biggest users of it in the West. China are.
China.
What is China now going to do as a result of this?
Right.
This is utterly destabilising.
All right, talking point done. Bill, the Obama nuclear deal is almost universally recognised as an utter failure. It was one of the main.
That's your view, Bill.
It was one of the main sources of investment for the horrors of October 7 that we saw. It possibly would have delayed Iran's nuclear capabilities for a year or two. The fact is, your generation of politicians tried the diplomacy route. It did not work, and this is the first time someone's actually had the guts to do something. And the end outcome is that we have a dramatically diminished Iranian state. That is a good thing for the world.
Yeah,
so
what
are you going to do
with terrorists that chant death to America, death to the UK, death to Israel, death to Jews?
What are you going to do when oil is skyrocketing through the roof and terrorist cells are attacking UK citizens?
Bill, they already are. We had 5 Iranians arrested on the way to blow up the Israeli embassy.
And it's going to be massively
your party have
reinforced by
let
this.
in Islamists over the last 20 years.
Oh, come on. We haven't been in power for the last 20 years.
And the Conservatives as well, in fairness.
Iran tried to kill President Trump. And you're just like, oh, don't worry,
No, I'm not saying don't worry, but I've got a serious view about the real risks and danger from what Trump has done.
There are huge,
and you're blithely ignoring that.
Of course, I'm very concerned about the potential impact on oil prices. We do not need more economic instability.
What is going to happen?
But I do not want nuclear war.
Neither do I.
And Israel wiped off the map. And as I said, Iran would do it. They would do it if we had the capability.
And it's enriched uranium. It's still got it. The regime has been reinforced. Not only the regime itself, but popular opinion in Iran has been reinforced by Trump's actions.
Hang on, you've got girls all out on the streets now taking videos of themselves dancing with their hair down, all celebrating, shouting death to Khamenei on the streets, thinking that the Islamic Republic is about to fall.
Yeah, I'm sick of the Iranian...
I don't think that the people of Iran are now more in favour of the regime after what's happened.
I think it's reinforced the position of the regime, and that's the real danger.
Well, Israel has destroyed so much of their key government infrastructure, not just taking out their state TV building, but the intelligence services and the head and the chief of that and all sorts. The regime is hanging on a thread right now. Yeah, it could easily collapse. The idea that they're strengthened after what Trump has done, just because they had a few trucks maybe take away some of the enriched uranium, is for the birds.
Yeah, Bill, are you sort of conscious of the role Iran is playing across the West at the moment? Of course, I mean you must be. You're not. I'm
a former Foreign Office minister who dealt with the intelligence about Iran. I know
exactly. You're not a silly guy. So we had Daniel Khalif, the British Army soldier who was sentenced in February to 14 years for spying for Iran. Yeah. We had a British guy in Cyprus last night arrested, accused of spying for Iran, plotting an attack on the RAF base there. You had 5 Iranians nicked on the way to attack the Israeli embassy, reportedly, a few weeks ago. That case is still going on. You've got all sorts of different plots being foiled. You've got attacks on British ships and American ships down in the Gulf of Aden and so on, off Somalia. I mean, Iran are causing havoc all over the world. So if they don't want to play ball after these B-2 bomber strikes, then I just say finish them off, finish the regime off. They are an absolute menace to not just Britain, but the rest of the world. So
Ben, I'm not an apologist for Iran. I loathe what the Iranian regime stands for, but I'm into the serious business of how you effectively control them. And what Trump has done and what Israel has done makes the situation much more dangerous.
Yep.